Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, 240 inmates are on the run in Nigeria after a huge jailbreak. Police are trying to track down the escapees after the country's second mass prison break this year. Also, a joint investigation between the United Nations and the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission into reported abuses during Ethiopia's conflict in Tigray won't cover some of the most serious claims of atrocity. Investigators say changes in security stopped them from visiting certain key sites. And Kenya's rivers have the few in the know hooked. Fly fishing is not a huge pastime in the country, but Kenyan expertise is behind the production of a huge percentage of European lures. And enthusiasts say that they are more than happy with bounty from teeming local waters. But first, 240 inmates are still missing after a huge jailbreak at a Nigerian prison. Gunmen blasted through the fence around the facility in Kogi State in the center of the country on Sunday. About 50 prisoners stayed put, but security forces are still trying to round up the hundreds others who made a break for it. It's the second mass breakout Nigeria has seen this year. Sam Olakoya tells us more.
The attack on the prison facility was carried out by several gunmen. The gunmen came in 7 Hilux vans. The attackers were also heavily armed, and they easily overran the prison security. There were 35 security men at the time the prison was attacked. These were 15 soldiers, 10 policemen, and 10 security personnel drawn from the prison service. The attackers used explosives to blow down the prison walls. Eyewitnesses said they operated for about 3 hours. 266 inmates initially escaped from the prison, but about 100 of them have either voluntarily returned or have been arrested. A manhunt has been declared for those of them on the run. A task force has also been set up to apprehend the gunmen who carried out the attack. No group has claimed responsibility for this attack, but it is believed to have been carried out by a well-organized armed group. One suspicion is that it might have been carried out by the jihadist group Boko Haram. There were a number of Boko Haram members in the prison at the time it was attacked. Boko Haram members have in the past attacked Nigerian prisons to free their members who have been held in jail. In recent years, Nigeria has witnessed several violent attacks on prisons. In April, 1,800 prisoners were released from the Owerri prison after gunmen attacked the facility. Last October, 1,900 prisoners were released from a prison in Benin after the facility was attacked. Attacks on prisons have enabled lots of hardened criminals to escape justice. This has further complicated Nigeria's security problems.
Sam Olakoya there for us. Now, around 70 kidnapped students have been freed after some of the gunmen who'd helped abduct them from school 2 weeks ago repented and helped Nigerian security forces track the children down. They were originally taken in an armed raid on the Government Day Secondary School in Zamfara State on September the 1st. Authorities say that some of the gunmen regretted their involvement and told the Commissioner of Police where the captives were being held. The rescue operation then happened on Sunday, and the gang reportedly agreed to the children's release in exchange for safe passage out of the forest following the army surrounding their camp. Northwestern states have seen a rash of kidnappings for ransom from schools this year. And Amnesty International's warned that conflict around Niger's borders with Mali and Burkina Faso is having a devastating impact on local children. The rights groups documented the dangers faced by young people living in Tigray. Known as the Three Border Region, it's become the area worst hit by extremist violence in the Sahel. Thousands have died and tens of thousands forced from their homes. Over the weekend, President Mohamed Bazoum made his first visit to Tigray, promising to beef up security. Nicolas Chemin tells us more.
It was Mohamed Bazoum's first visit to Anzuru, one of the most dangerous areas of the Tillabéri region in Niger, since his election in February. The last time the nation's president spent a night here was nearly 2 decades ago. Security was high, as the area has been the target of many jihadist attacks.
I have come here to express to you the solidarity of all the people of Niger and to bring you the support of the state.
Many residents came to listen to Bazoum and to express their concerns. Many had to abandon their land and seek refuge in urban areas. As a result, harvests are expected to be bad this year.
We ask the authorities to do all they can to eradicate this insecurity, which is really hurting us. The terrorists have killed our husbands. We're widows. They've burnt our crops and stolen our cattle. We are distraught.
No one has been able to farm their land. Those who dared were killed by terrorists. So people fled to towns, but they hunt them down in their houses, in mosques, and they kill them.
Adults are not the only ones who are targeted. According to a report published by Amnesty International on Monday, increasing numbers of children are being killed or recruited by armed groups in the country, especially in the Tigray region. The NGO ACLED reported that 544 civilians have been killed in attacks between January and July, compared to 397 for the whole of 2020.
The United Nations Human Rights Chief said that a joint probe into atrocities committed in the conflict in the northern Ethiopian region of Tigray couldn't send investigators to the site of one of the most deadly reported attacks. Hundreds of people were reportedly slaughtered in the city of Aksum, but a change in the security situation apparently prevented investigation. The report's being put together by the United Nations and the Ethiopian government's Human Rights Commission. Tigrayan rebels have been fighting federal troops and their allies since last November and retook much of Tigray in June. The available findings from the report will be released later this year, as Maria Gerth-Nicolescu tells us.
The joint investigation between the UN and the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission into human rights abuses in Tigray will be published on the 1st of November, almost exactly 1 year after the start of the conflict in Tigray. The alleged abuses include extrajudicial killings, sexual violence, attacks against civilians, forced displacement, as well as violence against refugees. However, due to security issues, the investigation could not be completed in some key places, such as Maikadra and Aksum. Both Michelle Bachelet and the Ethiopian Human Rights Commissioner Daniel Bekele said that all parties to the conflict are responsible for human rights abuses in Tigray, although findings are currently still being analyzed. The UN's human rights chief called for Eritrea to ensure accountability into human rights abuses in Tigray. She also expressed concern over fighting in Amhara and Afar regions, which are neighboring Tigray, and where she said that Tigrayan forces are accused of extrajudicial killings as well as attacks against civilians. She also called for an immediate cessation of hostilities, but so far it seems like fighting is continuing in several areas, which is also worsening the situation for civilian populations. Humanitarian access to Tigray remains an issue, and the needs are also growing in Amhara and Afar, where hundreds of thousands have been displaced due to the recent fighting.
Maria Gerth-Nicolescu there for us. Now, South Africa's hospitality and events industry is preparing to move up a gear after the easing of coronavirus restrictions in the country. From Monday, public events and restaurants will be able to accommodate up to 250 people at indoor events and 500 for outdoor gatherings. Previous rules restricted crowds to just 50. Trading times have also been pushed to 10 p.m. rather than the previous 9 p.m. cutoff, and retail sales of liquor are now allowed on Friday rather than just Monday through Thursday. More than 1,100 restaurants are thought to have shut down in the country because of restrictions brought in during the country's third wave of coronavirus infections. And finally, a little-known Kenyan speciality is the creation of artificial lures for fly fishing. Some estimates reckon that 1 in 3 flies used in Europe come from Kenya, and millions are shipped to key fishing markets around the world. Recreational fly fishing itself still hasn't taken off in Kenya, but for those few in the know, they've fallen hook, line and sinker for the country's waters. Take a look.
John Guy Moses learned fly fishing from an uncle as a young man in the rivers of Mathioya in central Kenya. Since then, he's been hooked.
I like fishing. Fishing is the best game I have in life. Fishing is the only thing that makes me happy.
Today, John is a guide for visitors who come from all over the world to fish in Kenya's highlands. Britain introduced trout here in the early 1900s, in the days of colonialism. The Kenya Fly Fishers Club, one of the oldest in Africa, was started 102 years ago. Fish don't draw the same crowds of tourists as the Big Five on Kenya's savannas. But the region offers remarkable experiences. There's even a thriving local fly tying industry which supplies customers from Norway to New Zealand.
Most of the customers outside, they prefer working in Kenya with the Kenyans, so they give us big orders.
Enthusiasts think promoting the sport can create jobs and help protect the rivers. At one point, 2,000 kilometers of trout fishing rivers crisscrossed Kenya. Today, it is much less.
Pressureful land is making water obstruction more prevalent in most of the good trouting sports that we had in this country. And if we don't conserve what's left now, in the next generation, in the next 30 years, we will not have any good trout rivers left in this country.
Many people who live in Mathioya Valley see fly fishing as a vestige of the colonial era. Here, they fish to eat rather than for fun.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks for joining us, and do so again if you can. Till then, take care.